Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 13 of season 4 of the F123 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here at the French Grand Prix at Castellet. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live on Saturday from Silverstone, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. Of course, our home Grand Prix, as always, delivered the drama. But championship-wise, Verstappen with a 20-point lead as we head into the second half of the campaign here. Of course, we got today and Belgium next weekend before the summer break, and we want that gap coming down to Max Verstappen between now and then. A 35-point lead in the Constructors' Championship as well. It is very much now a two-horse race at the top of the table here. But yeah, France though, hopefully it's going to be a good track for us. Of course, we had a very good race here last season, so we'll wait and see as to how we get on. Of course, if you're new around here as well, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're closing in on 120,000 subscribers at the moment. But yeah, let's get on with it though, here, ready for the French Grand Prix. Well, of course, we took pole here last season, so I'd love to emulate that success this weekend. Felipe Drugovich actually fastest after the first runs on a 128.0, so very impressed to see Felipe really has come into the team and is gelling incredibly quickly, of course, after winning that F2 championship so many seasons ago. But yeah, anyway, let's just jump in then here with our Q1 run. As always, we'll head out on a set of the medium compounder tyres, and we'll just try and make it into Q2. Well, I always like to see Castellet and Silverstone as quite similar circuits in terms of car strength, and of course, yeah, we had a very good run at Silverstone. The first time I felt properly confident around that venue inside F123, and actually scored my first points at Silverstone as well inside this game, which is probably not so reassuring, but you know, the less said of that, the better here. But rounding our way in towards the final couple of corners then here of my Q1 run, a little bit scrappy through the final corner, but we'll try and get the shortest run up towards the line. There goes Drugovich's time, but a 28.3 there puts us P2. That's incredibly good. Well, rain is also predicted to hit the track come race day Sunday, so it could be a little bit like Austria Sprint, and we see some changeable conditions here, so I want to make sure we're as high up the order as we can. But yeah, ready to start my first lap then in Q2. Charles Leclerc, as always, looking fast in that Ferrari. How will they throw away another potential race victory this weekend, at least based on their qualifying pace? That Ferrari car still not much of a race car in comparison there, as of course now we've got a bit more grip on these soft compound tyres. It's obviously the deficit isn't the biggest. Yeah, Castellet though, certainly not a track where you can make up much time down the straights, of course. You know, the tyre deficit between the softs and the mediums isn't that big of a difference. I think, to be honest, the high-speed nature, actually, again, you know, it's tracks like Castellet and Silverstone where the straights are long, but not stupidly long, where we've got a chance. It was more the tracks like Baku, where, of course, we really struggled because, obviously, you've got those huge straights as well. But, yeah, Belgium next weekend might be a little bit of a struggle. The one I'm really worried about is Monza. Of course, Monza and Mexico are going to be two very difficult tracks for us in the second half of the campaign. And whoever, of course, can forget Las Vegas. But you never know, of course, what the championship fight will be looking like by the time we make it there. But through the final couple of corners then here of my Q2 run. Again, a little bit scrappy through the final turn, but good throttle down on the exit. We want to be into the 1 minute 27s, which we are going to achieve there. 27.9. Again, though, slower than Felipe. Okay, but as we dive into Q3 then, the AI clearly finding a lot more pace. Carlos Sainz and Drugovich set a 27.3 at the end of Q2, so those might now be the times we're trying to aim for here as we get ready to start my first run. Of course, always in Q3, we're going to allow ourselves the chance for a double run, but the last few races, the first one's been an absolute worldie, and the second one we've really gone and struggled, so we'll wait and see what happens here. Oh, that's not an invalidation. We had the wheel right next to, might just have been on the white line, I suppose, but anyway, we're going to may as well complete the lap and just try and get the delta on the board, see how much time we need to find there as Verstappen. You can see down in 6th place on a 27.6. Again, Charles Leclerc, rapid through through Q1 and Q2, but I just can't seem to get it hooked up in Q3 there, and the Aston Martins as well, struggling just a little bit. We like to really lay apex through that weird little long flowing left-hander, but as we make our way down in towards the final corner, Actually, a pretty clean, tidy run through the final couple of turns that time round. So it's going to be a decent representative as long as we can match it on the second set. And look at that, 27-2 would have put us pretty competitively. Oh, now we're not in a particularly good situation here. We've got plenty of cars trying to finish off their laps as we're getting ready to start ours. Verstappen, I think, there, and Kevin Magnussen just in front of me as we make our way through the final couple of corners. Hopefully they're going to get out of my way, as George Russell has actually set the benchmark also on a 27-2. So we basically need to match our delta here, and that might be enough to put us right at the very front. The final corner, a little bit of a trip up there, but this should be good enough to see us go fast. This is going to be a 27-1, sorry. Definitely pace for a 26, but it's back-to-back poles here at the Castellet. Back-to-back poles in this series. We are flying. Well, there we go then, a 127-1 there, and courtesy to Max Verstappen definitely helped me along down the first part of the Mistral straight there, but once again, it is myself and George Russell on the front row there, so hopefully we won't come together like we did last weekend at Silverstone, but another pole position this season. We are really motoring at the moment. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident, but changeable conditions come race day Sunday, anything can happen.
Hello and welcome from the Circuit Paul Ricard, current home of the French Grand Prix, an event dating all the way back to 1906. Now, it's been held at many venues over the years, with famous moments from Dijon and Manicourt, the feature of many a highlights reel. So let's hope we see more of those in the race today. We have 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, but the rain is coming down and making for a slippery racing surface. Luckily, there is plenty of runoff area available, and hopefully we'll be able to avoid bringing out a safety car during today's Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Drugovich, Tsunoda, Gasly, Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Ocon, Fittipaldi, Albon, De Vries, Helga, Theo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, Bottas, Joe, Sargent, Stroll, and Jack Doohan. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And a warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances. But what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another good race today.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Well, I think Natalie Pinkham there has really hit the nail on the head. I think with the exception of Miami, we've scored top 6, top 5 in every race so far this campaign. But you can see just how much the weather is meant to move over the course of the afternoon there. It's going to be full wet to full dry conditions, so trying to time the stops is going to be absolutely critical here today. Remember, we've had one wet Grand Prix at Le Castellet and one dry one. Now we seem to be getting one somewhere in the middle, but yeah, another British 1-2 on the grid. Russell in that Mercedes looking for a big result today as Mercedes and Ferrari look to close in on Aston Martin and Alpine. But what can we do from the front of the field? Verstappen down the order, we have got a big opportunity. Right, let's do this thing though. Ready on the grid for the French Grand Prix here at Le Castellet. 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go. A lot of wheel spin in the initial launch, but we get the power down quite nicely as we head down towards turn 1. Drugovich has had a good start as well there. Immediately trying to look down the inside of George Russell into turn 1. We'll try and give my teammate some room if he needs it, but very, very careful through the first couple of corners there. It looks like Russell is going to be able to hang on. Sonoda dropping back behind Pierre Gasly. And of course the other one we're really interested in is where will Verstappen find himself early on this afternoon there. Of course, trying to time the switch over to the intermediate and then the dry compound tyres is going to be essential there, as you can see how little grip there is on the circuit on lap 1. It's like an ice skating rink as we make our way out onto the Mistral Straight for the first time. What are the teams saying about the weather?
So the rain's easing off a bit, but the track is still going to be wet for a while. Be careful.
Okay, so already.
It's all wet, so better right now.
Oh, okay. So teams saying you could already be debating a set of the intermediate tyres there, so might not be long before we're trying to make the switch over. So we'll put that into the game there, of course. Therefore, what it'll attempt to do is recommend the perfect time to move over onto that set of the tyres. I think it's going to be a few laps out just yet. It is still raining, well, very, very heavily there. It's completely just missed where the corner was down at the end in towards the scene. But yeah, George Russell then will say thank you very much, take the lead of the Grand Prix. Of course, the AI don't struggle to know where the corner is. They can be racing in the pitch black and they'd be absolutely fine there. But rounding our way through the final couple of corners, then just like Silverstone last weekend, not able to hang on to the lead of the Grand Prix by the end of lap 1. I want to try and move back past George and ideally build up a little bit of a margin here. It's not going to be very easy though as we try and get the throttle down out of the final corner. Still have got some good straight line speed against that Mercedes there as Russell over the line, practically pushing him along as we make our way back into turn 1. You can see the Mercedes there sliding around just in front of me. Can we lay apex off the corner? No, we cannot. And the second time here in Le Castellet in 3 seasons, we have gone and looped it round in the wet conditions. I don't know what it is about this track. There just seems to be no grip here ever. And this time around, we don't quite drop right to the rear of the field, but we certainly fall down the order, down to P19 early on. Now we've got a mountain to climb. Already, though, trying to get a run on Logan Sargent. Can we have a look down the inside? No, we can't. Sargent there trying to hold firm. Again, running wide then down at Scene Corner. Desperately don't want to do a Charles Leclerc. But, yeah, we're just, again, just seem to not be able to find the rhythm here in the full wet conditions. I could be tempted to do what we did at Austria and make an early call onto a stage of drier tyres, but really not convinced that we're at that stage of the afternoon just yet. So I thought about a move down the inside there as Russell now under no pressure at the front of the field. Carlos Sainz actually going fastest, but trying to use the short shift out of the final corner, use the torque from the engines there as we're going to pull alongside the AlphaTauri back down in towards turn 1. Give him a bit of a squeeze, pinch to the apex, and we'll make it round. Oh, and then Bottas, let's see what you got as we head down the Mistral Straight there. Bottas to the inside. And we'll be able to outbrake him very, very cleanly there. Run ourselves very deep into the corner, but we hang on to it. And now back up into P17 of the race. There's going to be a lot of overtaking, I feel, early on here. Hopefully. Dennis Hauger potentially causing a little bit of a train in the Williams, but impressed with him immediately to the top of kind of Formula 1.5 as we've dubbed it this season. To make our way through in towards the final couple of corners. Can we try and find the run around the outside of Liam Lawson there? Homeboy TR120. Not doing too badly early on as down the inside will go Russell. Everyone. Track is definitely improving every single lap. As we move over to P16 then of the race. What are we going to be able to do? 46.1. Not far away from fastest. Only 10 seconds wall behind our leaders there as locking at the rears through turn 1. Can we get a run then on our first Frenchman of the day? Théo Pourchaire, one of 3 Frenchmen on this grid. Pierre Gasly, probably the one with the best shot of winning this thing, but round the outside will go of Théo there. We've got Nick de Vries, Dennis Hauger side by side just in front. But track is definitely starting to dry out a little bit more there, as we're going to try and make it 3 wide as we head down in towards turn 10 there. This is scary, scary stuff. None of us want to back out. De Vries tried to turn in across me there, but we're not going to allow that to happen. And that's a cheeky double overtake then, the scariest double overtake I might ever pull off. Is that the time markings from Charles Leclerc's incident? Oh, there we go. Teammate into the pits. Two-wee box. Looks like Drugovich is one of the only ones in, but we're going to follow him there. Big, big gamble by Audi to try and bring both cars into the pit lane then. And this could actually lead us to quite a big undercut then. Looks like Sargent has followed us in. But yeah, Drugovich then the first to make the call, and really putting a lot of faith in my teammate in just his second ever outing for the team. We shouldn't hopefully get held up behind him. I wonder if he actually had a little bit of front wing damage there, which was actually why he pit. But he has gone onto the set of the intermediates. Can we get a good, clean, tidy stop? It's not perfect. No! Go! Well, that was probably closer to 6 seconds rather than 4.3, but now we're back out of the rear of the field once again, and we have got a lot of work to try and close up. We can already see on the timings, they're taking a good couple of seconds out of Zhou Guanyu already. So it's got to factor in the fact we probably would have been quicker. Yeah, all over the back of Sargent once again, and actually taking a bit of time at Drugovich. So we lost about 5 seconds to my teammate because of the hold-up in the pit lane then. So at least we know roughly what the gap is at the moment. Down the inside of Sargent, we'll go for the second time this afternoon. Horrible when you get kind of pinned to the apex there, because there's just not a quick line you can take. But we're up another place then as Drugovich is going to actually move up the order quite nicely then. So I think he'll have probably got quite a decent little undercut on some of the front runners there. Mercedes still not opting to pit then. A lot of cars still reluctant. So this just plays into our hand if we've got the pace to do it there. Williams heading back out of the pit lane. We're still behind Dennis Hauger. We might not be. Oi! Hauger there, absolutely not wanting to back out of it, so we definitely lost a little bit. But not as much as we should have, of course, because of how much time we lost in the pit lane. Hopefully we're going to be able to navigate Hauger anyway then. Nice run as we head out onto the back straight, but you can see how competitive that Williams is top end. Try and get down the inside of him as Max Verstappen, of course, the one we really want to outscore today. A little bit further up the road, 13 seconds, the gap up to the Dutchman. So he's probably one of the drivers I really wish we could undercut today. That's not going to happen yet, but we have got a lot of laps to try and close in the gap there as he seems stuck behind Zhou. There we go. More cars into the pit lane. Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon now coming through. So they've lost even more. There's a 42.7. Still got AI that haven't pit at the front of the field. One of the Mercs. So Drugovich, I think, is actually out into the net lead of this race. So we'd love to see Felipe get a win on the board here in his debut Formula 1 season. He's kind of been given a huge opportunity at the team, mainly because we didn't have any money. But you know what? He's doing well with it. Zhou Guanyu is really holding up that gaggle of cars, though. Max Verstappen has finally found a way around him as, yeah, look at that turn 9. Almost flat out now, so clearly the track is getting towards dry conditions there. We're starting to see more AI in, but still, one of the Mercedes there refusing to box. Why are they hanging out as far as they are? Are they trying to potentially get to the dry period? I don't quite know. Not really a strategy that can work anywhere other than Monaco, but we'll take the free time we're getting out of them as Zhou Guanyu as well opted to hang out there for yet another lap, and you can see how much time we're taking out of Leclerc and Verstappen as well, just due to some of these AI refusing to box. Neither Aston Martin is into the pit lane yet, so they might be waiting for a safety car or something like that. So here goes Ocon as we go fastest again. Albon around the outside of Zhou. That's sorry, down the inside of Zhou will finally complete the move. But let's just have a look then. Whoa, steady on that. Yeah, let's have a look how much time we're gaining on Zhou Guanyu through the corners there. You can just see it's like going up against a Formula 2 car. No speed for Zhou Guanyu there. No grip, no traction. Clearly those hard tyres, I think, are just getting overheating at the moment, as we'll try and switch him out onto the Mistral straight as best as possible. There, around the outside we'll go. And lucky that he didn't understeer into me there, but through another spot as we got yellows out. One of the Williams has looped it. Don't be a safety car, I beg. are some of the AI then trying to go all the way to the dry period here? It is meant to be drying up quite soon here in France, but surely it's going to be probably another 8 laps or so before we get to those conditions. Russell isn't losing out so much. Surely he didn't start on a set of the intermediate tyres, but yeah, my plan is either go mediums or softs to the end of the afternoon when those dries do arrive. But we're still taking good time out of everyone at the moment, as yeah, we're still closing in on those front runners. There we go, Carlos Sainz now on a 40.7, so clearly still that the dry tyres are the way to go. We set a 40.9. Yeah, that Ferrari is flying. Max Albon is mighty fast down the straights, but we've definitely got a little bit more through the corners and in the traction zones. Are we now going to be able to have a look to the inside of the Alpine? Yes, we are. Down the inside again at turn 9. And, well, fair play to Albon. He tried to hang it around the outside as best as possible. He's going to come back at me through the next corner there, but we should be able to swoop through, use the camber to the best of my abilities. And, yeah, Russell, I mean, they're not losing as much on those full wet tyres anymore, but they're definitely still losing out a little bit. As Verstappen's actually pit again then. I must have completely missed that. Verstappen into the pits again. Not too sure why, but that's given me a huge opportunity. There we go. One of the Aston Martins as well. Oscar Piastri finally making the call onto the set of the intermediates there as we go fastest again. This is a big gaggle of cars now as Drogovic starting to make some moves once more there. And Russell seems to be the only one still with any kind of usable grip on those tyres. We've got a McLaren there. I think that's Fittipaldi, isn't it? Just falling backwards at the moment. He's just like 5 places in the space of a few corners there. Suddenly down to P8 and right in front of me. As Verstappen now will go fastest a little bit further back. But I've got no idea what happened to him. Why he had to pit again. I can only assume he picked up some damage by trying to go around one of these slower cars there as we cut across the outside of Enzo Fittipaldi there. Had to make the move because he's 3 wide. Just in front of me is AI all over the place. No one knows what to do at the moment there. I mean, look at that. It's 4 cars all just scrapping it out. Magnussen is just a little bit stuck there, and we're going to try and capitalise off the corner. That's 1, and that's 2 there as we come off of the turn. Charles Leclerc's also going to be able to move past Kevin as Pierre Gasly, homeboy, running up in P5 early on here, but his teammate George Russell still trying to hang on to the lead. Carlos Sainz flying up in P3 there, trying to apply some pressure to my teammate Felipe Drugovich, but yeah, we've still got, whoa, some drivers on wets as we're already trying to wait and see how long it's going to be before the dry tyres are the ones to go on. Absolutely flying though at the moment, finding the grip round the outside of Pierre Gasly. Oh, I turned in for the corner again there. Thought it was a lot earlier than it actually ended up being, as Pierre then's going to try and squeeze me over the curb in, but we'll hold firm. Magnussen into the pit lane, Russell also into the pit lane then as Sainz goes fastest again. But in all of this, we're now up back into P4 of this race. Remember, we were in last not that long ago. And I've actually got my AI slightly wrong there. Carlos Sainz is leading the race for Ferrari at the front of the field then. So clearly the Spaniard desperate to try and get that Ferrari win on the board. I can't even remember the last time they won. It must have been right at the end of Season 2. At this career mode, obviously when Charles Leclerc won that world title, but Tsunoda losing a bit of time. Carlos Sainz 39.3, first car to go under 100 seconds. We smashed that though, 39.1. We are flying. Well, less and less spray being kicked up every single lap here at half distance here in Le Castellet, and already a lot has gone on this afternoon, but yeah, it's not going to be long before we dive into the pit lane. I'm just umming and ahhing about whether we can take softs to the end. Because, of course, I don't want to come back out onto the track on a hard compounded tyres. In slippery conditions, there will just be 0 grip. Oh, DRS enabled, okay. Earlier than I was expecting. Might be a couple more laps before we dive into the pit lane then. But, yeah, Tsunoda now trying to breathe down Drogovic's neck just in front of me. When are we going to box? Well, team reckon now is the time to box, but I don't reckon we're ready just yet. I reckon we need to do 1, maybe 2 more laps. Because like I said, I want to go on a set of softs for the end of the GP there. Tyre wear isn't too bad around the Castellet. It's not a particularly abrasive circuit, but... Oh, no! Is that going to come back to haunt me? That's the real question then, is are we going to see our top 3 into the pits, of course? We may as well not bother if Drugovich comes in, so I guess we're going to do whatever he doesn't then at this stage of the afternoon. Have not led this race since the beginning there. Sainz stays out. Drugovich peels in. Tsunoda peels in. So we have got split strategy at the front of the field. But let's stay out one more and then try and take a set of softs to the end. Look at how quickly the track has dried out, though, as we make our way out to the back straight once again. There's still a few puddles. Drugovich out just under 20 seconds behind me, but yeah, that's bizarre how quickly this circuit has suddenly dried off. But yeah, we need to dive in now then, and everyone else is on a set of mediums. Our track is practically bone dry though as we make our way in towards the final few corners. You can see how much now we're struggling to find the grip here. Surely Sainz is into the pit lane. Yes, he is. I don't do the pit lane entry properly. Therefore, neither am I. Just about get the car slowed down at the right point there. As, yeah, Drugovich has already undercut me by about 3 seconds on this lap. So we're in a world of hurt late on in the day here. Luckily, we're not going to get undercut, I hope, by Esteban Ocon, unless we have another tyre issue putting the new set on the wagon. But are we going to see Drugovich then to the lead of the Grand Prix? It's going to be very, very close between him and Carlos Sainz there. It's a good, clean, tidy stop for us. 2.3 seconds is exactly what we want. And there we go, Drugovich to the front of the field then, here in La Castellet. Just a handful of laps to go. Gasly has got the undercut on me as well as Charles Leclerc there, but we're on softer, ever so slightly fresher tyres to the end of the afternoon. Track conditions definitely aren't there just yet. But can we see Drugovich take his first ever victory in Formula 1? Well, Verstappen's had an absolute nightmare here, so any points we do score today is a big, big bonus there. But Carlos Sainz desperately wants this Grand Prix victory. Drugovich sets the 32.4 new fast lap of the day. Are we going to be able to get a run on Gasly back in towards turn 1? Oh, just about able to get around the outside of the Frenchman there. He kind of moved himself to the inside of the corner before the braking zone, so I knew we could try and brake even later around the outside of Pierre Gasly there, and back up to 5th place we go. I want to try and get to the front of the field, and it could be a 3rd race in a row where the penalty is going to change things towards the end. Verstappen almost half a minute behind us. He has had a nightmare today. It doesn't look like points are going to be possible for the Dutchman. He might be able to snag 1 or 2 from this, but how many can we get? Oh, Hauger out of the Grand Prix. Don't really want a safety car at this stage. But yeah, heartbreak for Hauger, who was having a fantastic race out here in the Castellet. Really did seem to gel with that Williams car nicely at Silverstone and was flying here. Sainz, a 130.3. What are we going to do? A 29.5. We are motoring. Whoa, Charles Leclerc there. Big wobble as well through turn 1. Did well to catch the slide. But we got to be able to capitalise on this down. Charles, I'm on your inside there, mate. I'm not having that. Charles Leclerc there just completely tried to turn across me. Got no idea how neither of us got front wing damage. But you can't do that. You can't move in the braking zone, try and cut across me, and then still go for an apex when there's a car down your inside. Looks like we picked up a tiny bit of front wing damage from that, as Drugovich, I swear Sainz has just overtaken him in the yellow flag zone. Hauger's slow car, but it looks like Sainz has made it happen. FIA or what? But can we get to the front? Right, come on then, Yuki Tsunoda. We've closed up to yet another one here. Drugovich and Sainz still duking out at the front of the field. Could be very, very useful for me late on in the day as we hit the red line. You can see Yuki Tsunoda, a lot of straight line speed in that Red Bull car, but we'll swoop through. We're not taking any prisoners at the moment, and it feels like yet another race where we're having to go on a charge late on. But will another 3-second penalty really cost me? I can't help but feel this front wing damage that Charles Leclerc gave me is already starting to compromise us late on in the day here. I'm looking at the gaps further back, and maybe our battle is going to be with Pierre Gasly because we just have not got the grip that I need. Maybe we're just cooking the tyres slightly too much as well, but Drugovich and Sainz still duking it out with each other. If we could get out of the DRS range of Yuki, that could be rather useful as well late on, but we just have not got enough pace in the car at the moment. Like I said, I think it's only a tiny little bit of front wing damage, but I think it is making all the difference there. You can just see can't quite carry the car with the sort of speed and momentum I want through the corners, and just understeering our way through a lot of these turns. But 6 laps to go here at the Castellet. We can't give up just yet. But yeah, this is mighty frustrating. Charles Leclerc really does feel like he can't race wheel to wheel. can see that gap to Drugovich and Sainz still going up at the moment. So I think maybe our battle will even end up being with the Alpines here, unless they start squabbling, which they are. Drugovich and Sainz side by side. I'm sure both of them want to try and get a win here. Sainz's first win in almost 2 seasons. Drugovich's first win ever in Formula 1. And you can see when they do battle, they lose a fair old whack of time. It's just, will they do that enough between now and the end? Certainly got the best seat in the house at the moment for this. Felipe Drugovich, Carlos Sainz still battling it late on in the afternoon. And we are able to take a little bit of time out of the pair of them here. Even if we just got the DRS, that would be rather useful. As you can see, Tsunoda now 9/10 back. So if we can get out of the range of him and into the range of our top 2, that would be absolutely fantastic. Late on in the day, any points, of course, like we said, we gain here are super useful in the bigger picture against Verstappen. The win's off unless something crazy happens between our top 2. You can see the Dutchman there. I think he might be... I think that McLaren car, Fittipaldi, might be in the top 10. So it might be that Max can try and take 1 or 2 points away from this. But we want to try and get close to Sainz and Drugovich. Perhaps they're just cooking their tyres as well, duking it out with each other. As are we going to be able to get that gap over a second to Yuki? Yes, it does temporarily. He'll still have the DRS back down towards turn 1. But this is fantastic. Well, lap 25 then. For the first time, we're going to be back inside the range of Sainz and Drugovich here. Are we going to see my teammate go for something? But you can see the gap to Tsunoda and Leclerc really opening up behind us. Almost 2 seconds now. As can we see Drugovich complete the move? Yes, we can. And Felipe back to the lead of the French Grand Prix once again there. Are we now going to be able to try and get between Carlos Sainz and my teammate there, as the gap to Leclerc almost up to 3 seconds? We haven't quite... Whoa, Sainz, why are you lifting? Come on, man, you do not need to lift through there. But, yeah, clearly Carlos Sainz felt he needed to. As now we've got to be really, really strategic. How can we get ahead of potentially Carlos here without losing time to Leclerc and Tsunoda behind? Are they going to continue... Whoa, to duke it out towards the end there is almost looping it round. We've got yellow flags out again. Someone else with issues very, very late on in the day here. Just 2 laps to go from the Castellet. But, yeah, we have really got the best seat in the house in this battle at the moment. Logan Sargent at yet another Grand Prix there. So back-to-back mechanical failures for the Williams. But obviously too late now to get a safety car this afternoon. What is going to happen, though, as we make our way through turn 1. See Sainz again trying to get a run on Felipe Drugovich down the inside. See the yellow flags coming out there. Sainz not able to do anything with it this time around as we head through the next couple of corners. What we need is Tsunoda and Leclerc just to duke it out behind once more here in towards the end. But can we potentially put ourselves in a situation where we can help my teammate here? We're going to try and have a look down the inside of Carlos Sainz here, and you can see it bouncing off the red line once again. That Ferrari's got more top speed. Something's flashed up on the warning there. I guess it's the tyres are starting to hit the cliff, but we are now between the Spaniard and our teammate here. Of course, we're not going to be able to win this thing. Drugovich surely will have enough to do so here, and we may as well just sit behind him in towards the final lap of this race. But of course, won that Formula 2 campaign all those years ago. Has not been able to get a Formula 1 drive until now, where McLaren took a punt on him and thought, you know what, we'll see what this kid has got there. Joined alongside, obviously, Nick de Vries there after their star driver, Lando Norris, left to join ourselves. But, yeah, weird how Formula 1 works, of course, because Lando left McLaren to join us, has now gone on a sabbatical. So Drugovich has now joined us as well then. But 1 more lap to go then of this race. Ferrari, it's been their most competitive stint so far this season, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough unless something crazy were to happen between myself and Felipe here. We just want to try and make sure we've got the time over Charles Leclerc a little bit further back so we can still walk away with a podium here. But Felipe Drugovich, this young Brazilian, it's going to be the first Brazilian win in Formula 1 in nearly 20 years. If you follow this timeline, Felipe Massa, the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, where he saw that heartbreak, where he lost the world title to Lewis Hamilton. That was the last time a Brazilian stood on the top step of a Formula 1 podium. But Felipe Drugovich, you know, Enzo Fittipaldi's been kicking around for a few years. You had other drivers like Bruno Senna as well, of course, make their way into the sport. But Drugovich looks to be the one to end the Brazilian curse. He joins a long lineage of Brazilian F1 race winners. Massa as we mentioned, Rubens Barrichello, Fittipaldi, Senna, and of course Nelson Piquet as well. The less said about him, the better. But through the final few corners of this Grand Prix, are we going to be able to get the gap up to Charles Leclerc? Are we going to be joining my teammate on the podium? He has withstood the pressure here this afternoon. Felipe Drugovich through the final couple of corners in just his second race for Audi. He is going to be a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner. Drugovich at the final corner. He's got a long run towards the start-finish line. Where will we come, though? I think it's going to be P5.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, what a race. At the end of the day, it is all about raw pace, and our winner had it in spades today.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. The gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Felipe Drugovich gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. The owner drivers team moved to the top of the table. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula 1, so be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we are then, the end of the French Grand Prix, and Brazil stand back on top of a Formula 1 podium there. You absolutely love to see it. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc showcase Ferrari's prowess and their steady improvement back towards the front of the field there with a double podium with Tsunoda and myself. Half a tenth between myself and Yuki Tsunoda. We really need to eliminate these 3-second penalties because they are costing me a lot of points at the moment. Gasly, Piastri, Ocon, Albon and Russell round out our top 10 there. And yeah, Max Verstappen, a disappointing day down in 11th place. But it does mean championship-wise, 9 points between myself and Max as we head to the Belgian Grand Prix next weekend. We desperately want to go into the summer break with a points lead there. Tsunoda still in P4. Drugovich, though, already towards the back of Gasly and Kevin Magnussen there, so definitely think he can finish 4th or 5th by the end of the season. Constructors-wise, though, 58 points, though. We continue to open up that gap to Red Bull behind us there. Of course, Max Verstappen taking the win last weekend, but we don't allow them to start building up a win streak in this championship. Ferrari up to P3, though, ahead of Aston Martin and Alpine. With that good result, will Mercedes be able to join them and continue on the fight? Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very, very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Belgian GP. A sprint weekend that I'm sure you guys do not want to miss. A massive thank you to my Patreon supporters that you can see currently on your screens. If you want to join them from as little as £1 a month, it would be massively appreciated and you help support my work. You also get access to weekly updates from myself with everything going on behind the scenes with the channel. But yeah, a massive thank you to the names you see on your screen, and we'll be back very soon with a brand new video.